Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
And welcome to another edition of Feminists Around the World. And today, I'm going to put a timestamp, is October 29th, 2024. And in the U.S., this month is actually, there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of things that we are both celebrating and bringing an awareness to. There's a lot. There's a lot that happens in October for some odd reason. But with that, we did Hispanic Heritage Month, which we have been celebrating. We've had a lot of people. But it is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the U.S. And there's so many issues that are wrapped up during this month, including conversation of violence against women in general. And when we talk about domestic violence, we're also talking about financial abuse, emotional abuse, all of those things. Stalking, it does come underneath that as well. I think there's also different months for like Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Stalking Awareness Month, Teen Domestic Violence Awareness Month. That also does come about, but October is pretty standard for all the other things as well. But with that, we featured many different activists who have worked hard to bring awareness about these issues, as well as helping to change policies and how the public or corporations can help with such a massive issue. Of course, again, one of the biggest tactics that many abusers use is financial abuse, which we talked about, I think, when I first started. We talked about women in finance and we talked about financial abuse. But that's a long time ago. Whew. Anyway, it was in the old studio times.
Oh, gosh. The before times.
The before times. But anyway, often we see partners, especially women, being unable to leave an abusive or dangerous situations because they do not have the money to actually leave. We also talked about the fact that way back when women couldn't even get credit or credit cards or open a bank account, that was why they didn't leave. Even though people want to be like, oh, in the good old days, people knew how to stay married. No, people knew how to trap people in marriage. Anyway, back to. And there are those who have sought out to assist women who are struggling financially and are trapped in dangerous situations, such as Carmen Correa, who is the current CEO of Pro Mujer, and here's a bit of information from their site, promujer.org. Pro Mujer is a social enterprise that has been working to advance gender equality in Latin America for more than 33 years. Our objective is for women to reach their full potential, improving their living conditions, and become agents of change for their communities. They use a comprehensive and holistic model to provide underserved women in Latin America with services and tools across 3 strategic areas: health and well-being, financial inclusion, and skilling opportunities. So, and just to kind of elaborate on that, this is more information from weforum.org. Pro Mujer recognized the urgent need for intervention and realized that addressing structural barriers to gender equality was crucial for women to reach their full potential. To address this, Pro Mujer employs a multifaceted approach to combat gender-based violence by working closely with women in the region, providing essential support and tools to help them overcome and identify gender-based violence promptly.
And they continue, quote, in Bolivia, where Pro Mujer was founded, the organization has initiated a program involving volunteer women who are survivors of gender-based violence. These survivors offer psychological support to other women facing similar situations, a clear example of their resilience and solidarity. These survivor mentors provide a lifeline to women in desperate need, helping them regain control over their lives while fostering a sense of community and solidarity among women.
Yeah, and Correa is no stranger in this type of work and activism. She has over 30 years of experience in using her skills to create a sustainable plan and programs to help women in need. So in an interview with Jason Hartman for Authority magazine, which we found through Medium, Correa talks about her influences on how she got to where she is. She said, I grew up in inland Uruguay in the department of Colonia, where I was in contact with nature, the countryside, and its people. I lived there until I was 6 years old, then moved to Montevideo to start school. My father is an agricultural engineer and would bring us along when he needed to tour the country, giving me the opportunity to visit different parts of the country. While my father worked, we enjoyed life outdoors, riding horses, living together, and learning about the local culture. Beyond my grandmother and mother, I've always been surrounded by strong, interesting women in agricultural businesses who challenge stereotypes. And with her influences and growth, she stepped up to challenge the system and how women are oftentimes left behind or out of the conversation altogether. In fact, she and Pro Mujer have been vocal about the way women are left out of conversations about finance or financial assistance. She and many others have started talking about the need for financial inclusion.
And in that Authority magazine, Correa explains what financial inclusion is. Quote, financial inclusion means that all people, regardless of their gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, social position, or purchasing capacity, have access to financial tools that improve their quality of life. Personally, I think it is about not leaving anyone behind and guaranteeing that we are all included in the financial ecosystem.
Right. And in a conversation with Correa and fellow regional director of Pro Mujer, they spoke about the issue during a UN Women's Forum titled Let's Fund Women. They spoke about why this topic was important, saying, for us, it is essential because we see what is happening to real women. They don't have access to capital. They don't have access to the fundamental instrument that allows them to grow in their own business, in their own ventures. And why don't they have access? Because there is discrimination and there are biases from those who decide on the credits. Let me tell you about an initiative that we promoted together with Inter-American Development Bank in Chile a few years ago. We hired 20 actors and actresses who went to the banks under the same conditions, and guess what happened? The women were offered 25% less credit simply because they were women. This year, we had the Commission on the Legal and Economical Status of Women, which has been held for the past 68 years in New York, and the topic centered on how to eliminate poverty and the feminization of poverty. The only way to eliminate it is with financing. That's why we decided to talk about investment. Without financial inclusion, it is very difficult for women to achieve that economic autonomy, that economic empowerment that we need so much. Which I found that project pretty interesting. I would love to have like a little more detail. I'm sure they have it on their site. There's a lot of information on their site, y'all, because it is a big conversation about who is being denied what. I know there have been those types of tests and research conducted in the U.S. specifically on like racial lines as well as gender lines, but I find that that's such a telling conversation. Correa has explained the issues at hand, specifically in Latin America, saying, quote, moreover, it is necessary to point out that being unbanked is directly related to the social vulnerabilities an individual faces. In this regard, young people, women, indigenous communities, and the elderly are most affected by this lack of financial services. An important figure is that 49% of Latin American women lack access to financial services, and 70% of them cannot access credit due to the lack of credit history and guarantees offered by financial institutions. The good news is that we can break this vicious cycle if we tailor the financial system to the population's needs. And with these figures and understanding these needs, she and Pro Mujer have done a lot of this work. According to their site, they've been able to help women get access to a loan for the first time, help women get investments into their businesses, and are able to increase their capital, which is amazing. And of course, with all of that under her leadership, the organization has been able to expand globally and has been a leader in the movement of financial inclusion and women's rights and advocacies. And Correa has been getting a lot of recognition for her work and advocacy. In fact, in 2023, she was included on the google.org list of leaders to watch, which I feel like she probably should have been on that like 20 years ago, but hey, at least she's getting some kind of recognition.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, hopefully she continues to get that recognition. I'm sure this is such a huge issue. We have talked about it since the start of when you've been on here. We've had multiple episodes about financial abuse and women. And so it is a very important thing that she is working on. And I'm sure we'll check back in. In the meantime, listeners, if you have any suggestions for this segment, you can contact us. You can email us at stephaniemomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter at momstuffpodcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff One Never Told You. We have a TeePublic store and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
Thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.